I know what dirty Moors, yeah. I know what dirty Moors did to True Ali. I'm saying, I know what dirty Moors did. I know what dirty Moors did. I'm going at dirty rappers, lynching dirty Moors too. Hiding literature that Drew wrote to warn you. They claim to make you Muslim and make you sovereign. With paperwork and filings, it's fiat they robbing. They don't care about his words, throw it out like garbage. Or throw it at you when you're active, not passive. When they wanna talk about like off a trampoline mattress, treat them like a vamp or a teen actress. Get stabbed with the brand like a mean savage. This Inquisition divine, all others average. Millennium Renaissance, heroes in our classes. Fed up with the czar controlling fascists. Ask if they heard about Moors, they say no. But Masons, they obviously know. Down the handshakes and rituals with skull and bones. They even know about owls burning Bohemian Grove. I know what dirty Moors did to True Ali. I know what dirty Moors did. I know what dirty Moors did. I know what dirty Moors did to True Ali. I know what dirty Moors did. I know what dirty Moors did. I know what dirty Moors did to True Ali. I know what dirty Moors did. I know what dirty Moors did. I know what dirty Moors did to True Ali. I know what dirty Moors did.
Islam and greetings, Moors. Welcome back to another episode of Pardon the Interjection. I am your host, Supreme L. I would love to give high honors to Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Here on Pardon the Interjection, we dig up information to divulge to the people and help in the upliftment of fallen humanity. And yes, we have took a heavy fall, y'all. But we are waking up in droves, in hordes. We're waking up, and it is a wonderful time to be alive. I want to bring something to the attention of the family. And what we'll be going into today is a various of topics pertaining to one. First, let's not get it, twisted. We have a prophet. You know what I'm saying? We have a prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. We have a prophet for our nation. And to give a little breakdown, we go into our university, RV Bay Publications, and we read Noble Drew Ali, a Moor, descendant of the ancient Moabites, was born in the North Carolina Territory, Northwest Africa, America, in the year 1886 AD, 1306 Moorish calendar. He was born of the Cherokee tribe of the Moorish nation and was named Timothy Drew. At a very young age, Timothy Drew was inspired to learn more about the scattered bits and pieces of knowledge, heritage, and culture of his ancient Moorish peoples. He began to travel this old land, Amexem, North America, for those who don't know. And we continue. He lived with and mingled with various tribes of our indigenous Moors and was resolved to better their conditions. Noble Drew Ali's inspired activity and determination were the impetus for the yet-to-be manifested Moorish movement. This movement was destined to progressively activate and change the whole frame of mind, status, and political condition for the defeated Moorish nation in Northwest Africa, Al-Murak, America. Pardon the interjection. I want to give a small shout out to, but a large shout out to my good brother DJ Supreme. And I'm not talking to myself. DJ Supreme, who mixed a nice soundtrack that I have also on my phone. Simple Science Soldier. Type that in. Simple Science Soldier. Mixed by DJ Supreme. Awesome track. and we continue. The Prophet Noble Jew Ali, the Moorish divine and national movement of the world, by Grand Sheikh, National Sheikh, my teacher, Taj Tariq Bey. I give honors, partner, interjection. I want to give high honors to brother Taj Tariq Bey and all that he's done and is doing for the movement and to uplift our people. I digress, and we continue. I have always found it troubling to see and recognize that many sincere and or seriously interested natural persons have displayed an air of disillusionment, confusion, or misunderstandings concerning the direction and purpose of the Moorish Divine National Movement, MDNM, in brackets. It must be emphasized to all people who receive Moorish culture class instruction that Noble Jew Ali was a universal prophet. Because Noble Jew Ali is a universal prophet, public airing of his literature and message is directed to the people of North America at large, and not just to the fallen Moors, his people. The Prophet Noble Jew Ali made a firm and compelling plea to the nation and presented to us the Pacific grand principle of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Upon making this historically famous plea, the Prophet addressed the people, qualifying their loyalty. This is the specific order in which the Prophet clearly addressed three specific bodies of the people who make up the citizenry and or body politic of North America. 1. All loyal, faithful Moors. 2. Members, nationality card holding members of the temples. 3. The American citizens. Warning. Remember that the Prophet directed his call to the above mentioned peoples in the public arena. Look at the order or sequence in which those he addressed is placed. Do not allow anyone to try to convince you or your children, offspring, that he, the Prophet, did not address the above said peoples. Let no one without a challenge try to imply in any way that any of the above stated persons have no right to possess the Prophet's literature or writings, or that they cannot or should not talk about, analyze, or discuss those things which our Prophet brought to us. Our Prophet brought to us, pardon me. If anyone has any doubt to the correctness of what I have just said, then go to the Prophet's own words, which are written in his Moorish literature booklet, under the editorial, A Divine Warning by the Prophet for the Nations. It is upon this document that the Moors Order of the Round Table bases its origin and purpose. This is why I have set about the task of producing literature to counter those subversives among us. It is not personal. It is for the nations and the Moorish divine national movement. The social, spiritual, and political proper person, concepts, and proper conduct initiatives which the Prophet encouraged the people to act upon must be made common public information and should be readily available in every public library and on display in any of the various bookstores. However, history and the records show that a few subversive characters, persons, deceitfully presented themselves as honorable and sincere members within the Moorish temples and thereby successfully gained positions of authority and power within the Moorish movement. Some of these traitorous, disingenuous, and selfish persons set about their work and intent of slowing down or neutralizing the Moorish divine national movement. Upon analyzing Moorish literature and information, the oral and written words of many honorable sheikhs and sheikhesses, the limited records made available by the Federal Bureau of Investigations, FBI in brackets, a pattern of negative intent and actions can be easily discerned and recognized. The following are a few of those recognizable acts or actions which are derivative of the above said patterns of negative intent. 1. Any and all attempts made at neutralizing the Prophet Noble Jew Ali by way of suppression of the exposure of his pleas, messages, and literature, as it was all directed to all loyal, faithful Moors and to the people at large. 2. The artificially injected divisions and schisms presently existing among Moorish holy temples of science, the Moorish Science Temples of America, and the Moorish Divine National Movement, in all its manifest branch institutions. The false claim that Moors do not vote in the national elections, qualified, in brackets, and in their proper persons status. 4. The false claim that Moors are not to be civically active. 5. The false claim that Moors are not to study and or act upon the national constitution of and for the governance of the United States and for the governance of the United States Republic, North America, which was prepared for all free national beings. The false claim that Moors are not part of this said government, i.e., the United States Republic of North America. 7. The lack of refined instructions on and about the social and political effects concerning the truth about the theft of and the suppression of the Moorish nationality and birthright issues, etc. 8. The lack of recorded documents and accountability to the Moors concerning the collection of, the accountability to the people for, and the proper dispensation and spending of the people's finances. 9. The lack of study, analysis, and truth about the legal and or lawful implications concerning the alterations of words of a document or the deletion of words in or from any established constitution or lawful or legal document. Note: should be taken that the divine constitution document of the Moorish Holy Temple, the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, as presented to the Moors from Noble Jew Ali, our prophet, was altered by someone within the movement when Noble Jew Ali was in the midst of institutional pressure and violations from persons within the movement. Take note of an important and often overlooked alteration, which was made at least 3 times within the Divine Constitution document, which alters its meaning and purpose. The original Divine Constitution of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science states the legal term part, P-A-R-T, and parcel, P-A-R-C-E-L. The altered Divine Constitution of the Moorish Science Temple of America reads part and partial, P-A-R-T and P-A-R-T-I-A-L. Do you hear Moors analyzing or discussing the circumstances upon which these obviously serious yet unaddressed changes were made? Noble Jew Ali commanded the Moors to study, study. Cannot the Moorish Americans read? Why has no one of importance to the Moorish movement pointed out this flaw to the Moorish national citizenry? Why has no correction been made? Who is protecting the Prophet and the Moorish movement? Will the honorable Moors please stand up? The issues relative to the undermining works instituted against Moorish Americans' progress in North America and initiated by and or through the subversives amongst the Moors are not limited to the foregoing. However, I feel the above are well worth mentioning for the purpose of warning those who become conscious of their Moorish nationality and birthright issues. Many newly conscious Moors may inadvertently find themselves amongst unwelcoming, exploitative, opportunistic, or cliquish Moors, cliquish Moors. Bear with me, partner interjection. Bear with me when I copy the information. It didn't all come out correctly, but I'm going to bring it to the people. And we continue. Be aware that such are not the programs as presented by the Prophet, nor is such the mission of the Moorish movement. The above also applies to the Europeans among us who may oft times pretend not to know the true and illustrious connection and influence of Moors to the founding of this great republic and of the constitutionally undermining subversives on their side of the nation. All parties must confess, support, enforce, and uplift our free national constitution and declare one free national name. Remember that name. America applies to two major continents, an isthmus and the adjoining islands. What is your nationality? Upon recognizing that critical misunderstandings about varied and yet vital issues involving Moorish American history, law, and government existed and exists also among many conscious Moorish Americans, I feel the need and obligation to at least address the same to the best of my knowledge and ability. I also recognize that this includes members of my own direct nationalized family. This is why I have prepared a few Moorish children's lesson books for my daughters, my sons, my nieces, and my nephews to share with some of those studies with you, trusting to do some good. If one would wonder or desire to have a clearer understanding of focus and purpose of and for their own actions and purpose of involvement and connection to the Moorish Divine National Movement, then I would advise the following. Thoroughly read, analyze, and etymologically, I love that word, etymologically study in word and in law Prophet Noble Drew Ali's divine warning by the prophets for the nations. The prophet makes plea to nation. The Moorish leader's historical message to America, etc. Therein, unerringly, you will be informed of the Moorish mission, instructed and directed of and to the true purpose of the mission, and given a solid foundation upon which to base your studies, your actions, your dedication, and your associations. With a clear understanding that the Moorish movement in North America is the great legacy left to us by our prophet, you will recognize that the movement belongs to we, the people. With a solid background knowledge of the above stated literature, your acts, your obligations, and connections to your Moorish Divine National Movement will be firm and unshakable. And to this great humanitarian cause, honorable Moors pledge their allegiance, peace, prosperity, and progress. There are many institutions, movements, and organizations that came directly out of or are under the universal umbrella of the Moorish Divine and National Movement. Many have studied Noble Drew Ali's words and works and teachings and have applied them well. Many have not. Some people came into the Moorish movement to help. Others came into the Moorish movement to profit off the suffering of the people and to cause divisions and problems. Some were agents of enemies to the cause of uplifting the people, and others were trying to undermine Noble Drew Ali's efforts to raise the economic, social, spiritual, and political conditions of the Moors. Noble Drew Ali said, "The half has not been told. If I told you everything, you would go back to sleep. Study yourselves. By reason of progressive development and by reason of countering the stagnation and sellout of nurtured corruption that has always plagued the Moorish Divine and National Movement. Many studied Moors developed expanded informational approaches to facilitate solving the many negative problems facing the nation. There were, in the past, as are in the present, positive and progressive Moors dedicated to the cause of uplifting fallen humanity. There are many people, however, who sought out positions of power and authority for the purpose of deliberately hiding and nullifying the national political application side of the Moorish movement. Without government, structure, and civil activity, the proper benefits of the reclamation of the Moorish nationality can never be realized for the lack of true economic security. This is why those who oppose Noble Drew Ali's universal Moorish movement, usually feign ignorance to the civic nature of the Moorish movement, or condone those who are working to protect the unalienable political rights of all Moorish Americans, etc. If one studies the universal principles of government, national and international, one can quickly surmise who and where opposition and deception against the people's rights exist. Keep in mind that the freeing of a people from usurpation, color of law, false history, tyrannical religious dogma, brand, appellatives, etc., also directly and indirectly affects the profits and political power of those who have benefited from the status quo conditioning. The Moorish nationality issue is a threat to slaveholders and their Negro-bred overseers alike. Be aware and study the positive and the negative history of the Moorish Divine and National Movement, so as to enable oneself to recognize those who would seize upon the ignorance of the people. Such persons will often misuse the presentment of government activities without teaching of the contractual nature of the same. Such misrepresentation serves the intent for selfish gain, whether finance or other forms of benefit or power. A well-rounded knowledge of civics, law, and history will quickly expose any and all leech-natured opportunists and traitors to the cause and principles of uplifting the fallen Moors and humanity at large. Where there is just government, there is accountability to the governed. Look for constitutions, covenants, treaties, bylaws, etc., among other things. If they are absent, look for fraud and theft. This is a list of some of the many active Moorish institutions and or organizations formed which much can be learned, from which much can be learned. They are all over the country. Seek them out and research in your course of travel and study. 1. The Moorish Holy Temple of Science. 2. The Moorish Science Temple of America. 3. Moorish Order of the Round Table, New Jerusalem Territory, New Jersey. 4. The Moroccan Honor Society of New Jerusalem Territory, New Jersey. 5. The Great Seal National Association of Moorish Affairs, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, Virginia, Maryland, Louisiana, Ohio Territories, etc. 6. The Circle of Mothers and Sons, Cleveland, Ohio Territory. 7. The Moorish Institute of Ohio, Studies of the Works of C.M. Bay. 8. The L. East Moors of Florida Territory. 9. The Washita Didadamuda, Dedugdamunya, Dedugdamundia, of Louisiana Territory, Empress Tiara Radiarcy Gaston L. Bay. 10. The Lessons of the Living Widow, Sister Atikia Bay, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania Territory, and that says Atikia Bay. 11. Journal of the Moorish Paradigm, Brother Hakeem Bay of New York Territory. Note, in Moorish culture, you are encouraged to read, research, and study as a normal state of custom, duty, and general affairs. You have a responsibility to self and to your nation to feed the mind and dispel ignorance. I like to say, part of interjection, we have to give out 3 important readings by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And that is Divine Warnings for the Nations. Number 2, Message to America. 3, Prophet Makes Plea to the Nations. National Notice and Alert. Read this. Moorish Science Temple of America, Home Office, 3603 Indiana Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. Founder, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, January 18th, 1929. To be proclaimed in every meeting. Dear brother, Islam, I am glad to know that I have few faithful members among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement, now by the same people of our side of the nation, that claim it was only a joke and unreal, but now since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as an American citizen. They are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they themselves may take charge of the situation. Author's note: the above text is the first paragraph and an excerpt from a highly volatile and impacting plea, proclamation, and notification expressed through Noble Drew Ali's letter of January 18, 1929. Continue critical analysis below. To all loyal Moorish Americans of Northwest America, North America. Author's note: this is a pertinent commentary about the historically important and suppressed letter issued by Noble Drew Ali and dated 18th of January 1929. Keep in mind that only months later Prophet Ali suffered highly questionable injuries and his eventually physical demise after a false arrest set up at the hands of Chicago policemen and collusion with others who are not directly named in this treatise. The purpose of which is to make an examination of the subject matter of honor, credibility, and integrity concerning those who have claimed to respect, support, and love the Prophet and the Moorish Divine and National Movement of North America, etc. Consider what we can do in these days to regain the respect for the temples and the sincere members who have worked for years to keep the doors open for the coming generations. The good amongst the Moors should not suffer the lack of credibility problems, which were created by a few underhanded and dirty Moors. They should not be allowed to overshadow the good and loyal Moorish Americans. Note that Noble Drew Ali was abused and beaten, then eventually released into the hands of awaiting disingenuous traitor Moors and other subversives who had formerly infiltrated the Moorish Science Temple of America and who were secretly working to undermine the Moorish Divine and National Movement at the behest of President J. Edgar Hoover through channels of the FBI and CIA. Take note that a death certificate was issued upon the instance of Noble Drew Ali's veiling his form and was dated July 20th, 1929. There was various less than honorable activities initiated by some disingenuous Moorish Americans who were working against Prophet Noble Drew Ali during that volatile period of time. In the 1920s, communications made between demo government agents and some of these subversive persons, and we continue, and some members of the temples. Some of these communications can be gleaned from redacted FBI papers, which were released years ago under the Freedom of Information Act. At this point, I refer the reader to statements made by Noble Drew Ali concerning the most powerful weapon in the hands of group Moorish Americans for our intercommunications and social political defense. All scholars, amanuensis masters, adepts, grand sheiks, temple members, and the erudite of jurisprudence should note a very important fact and point out history to examine and critique the following statements with a supportive yet unbiased mind. The letter attached below in full is a purposeful and revealing excerpt from a speech made and issued by Noble Joe Ali. It was also published in 1929 in the Morris Guide newspaper. There is something, however, that is very strange about Noble Joe Ali's position on matters referred to in his speech when concerning the lack of support on these newspapers. Maintenance matters. Isn't it an interesting and troubling fact that you rarely hear of any statements in organizational support of Joe Ali's position on the press? Particularly, curiosity should be rightfully directed towards recognizing the absence of many otherwise vocal grand governors and grand sheiks who had been in authoritative control of administrative seats of government within the Moorish Science Temple of America. Note that many of these so-called persons were instrumental in seeing that the newspapers, which were started by Noble Joe Ali for the Moorish Americans, were not maintained, were quickly shut down, and were not resurrected in any serious or meaningful production or manner. Read Noble Joe Ali's statements and consider why many natural people who have become conscious about their Moorish nationality and birthrights have displayed limited confidence in the leadership of the Moorish Science Temple of America before and at this current period of time, 1982 to 92 plus 2016 and so on. Read for yourselves and consider what you are able to do to aid and assist in helping to uplift fallen humanity by producing literature and newspapers, etc., to assure national communication for all Moorish Americans, etc., as instructed by our illustrious and dedicated prophet, Noble Joe Ali. And I like to go in on another topic and issue, and I want to give high honors again to Prophet Noble Joe Ali. For those who don't know him, go and talk to him. You talk to him. Go check out his literature. He talk right to you. I implore you to, for the benefit of you and your family. And this is another piece that I want to go into, doing some research on my own that will also help me in the tribunals that I have to go into, to present and battle, because that's what we're doing. It's a battle. It's definitely a battle. And it's a battle of wits, the mental, the thoughts. So study. And it's notice to all law enforcement. Nationals or citizens are not required to show identification to a police officer or policy enforcer. Check this out, family. The police officer swears by oath to uphold the United States Constitution as an officer of law. Supreme Court decisions are considered the law of the land in regards to constitutionally protected rights, and they cannot be interpreted or reinterpreted as they are stare decisis, already reviewed and clearly described as law. Supreme Court case. Colander versus Lawson, Kolender versus Lawson, 461 U.S. 352, 1983, in which the United States Supreme Court ruled that a police officer could not arrest a citizen merely for refusing to present identification. There is no such thing as failure to identify. Pardon the interjection. Let me go back on that because I want to really hit this home to y'all. There is no such thing as failure to identify. You can sue the police for an illegal arrest and resist arrest with impunity. An illegal arrest is an assault and battery. Pardon the interjection. Did y'all hear that? Did you hear that? And I continue again. An illegal arrest is an assault and battery. The person so attempted to be restrained of his liberty has the same right to use force in defending himself as he would in repelling any other assault and battery. State versus Robinson 145. Now, I'm not saying go out here and be a dumb ass and just try to fight the policy enforcers. That is asinine. Especially in wake of what's been going on with the property. And I'm not talking about land. I'm talking about physical bodies with the properties, the black property. That's why Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter, not to us, to them. It matters. Your body parts matter. That's another topic we'll save for the next couple shows. And we continue. But pardon the interjection. So I'm saying do not go out there and be no asshole and try to hurt or fight these policy enforcers. You'd be an asshole to do that. Fight them in the tribunal. Fight them in their pockets, hit their pockets, because that's where it hurts them. Hit their pockets, sue them. Pardon the interjection. You can sue the police for an illegal arrest and resist arrest with impunity. Food for thought. And we continue. Each person has the right to resist an unlawful arrest. In such a case, the person attempting the arrest stands in the position of a wrongdoer and may be resisted by the use of force, as in self-defense. Pardon me. State versus Mobley, 240, North Carolina. One may come to the aid of another being unlawfully arrested, just as he may, where one is being assaulted, molested, raped, or kidnapped. Thus, it is not an offense to liberate one from the unlawful custody of an officer or agent, even though he may have submitted to such custody without resistance. Adams versus State, 121, Georgia. These principles apply as well to an officer attempting to make an arrest who abuses his authority and transcends the bounds thereof by the use of unnecessary force and violence, as they do to a private individual who unlawfully uses such force and violence. Jones versus State, 26, Texas. Beaverts versus State, 4, Texas. Skidmore versus State, 43, Texas. Federal law and Supreme Court cases apply to state court cases. I'm going to say that again, family. Federal law and Supreme Court cases apply to state court cases. So if you have a case in traffic in, say, Maryland State, you can use the Supreme Court cases and they apply to that. Say, for example, traffic court. You have it in the state of Maryland, district court, which is traffic division, right? You get pulled or whatever. They say you have no license, whatever. They arrest you. You can sue them because that's one, not a arrestable offense. But let's just say you go and to this state and you get the Supreme Court ruling on traffic infractions is not a crime, right? Right? And that's people versus battle, right? No, people versus battle. That's a Supreme Court case. And with this particular one, federal law and Supreme Court cases apply to state court cases, and that's Howlett versus Rose, Howlett versus Rose, 496 U.S. 1990. You can use this also, partner interjection. You can use this also because it's telling you that state law and, pardon me, Supreme Court cases apply to that state case. So if the Supreme Court says that you can travel, without licensing, and they say that you are driving and you're saying you're not, you're traveling, you can use the Supreme Court case and dismantle them, beat them. And we continue. Police officers can only ask for your identification when an investigation is underway. Y'all hear that? Partner interjection, but do you hear that? Police officers can only ask for your identification when an investigation is underway, and you are a part of it. Therefore, when they hinder you, they are saying that you are under investigation. Their car lights and sirens are to only go on if there is an investigation. Therefore, they must identify to you the investigation and your part in it. This is why you ask them, what is their probable cause? I knew someone who was hindered from their travels, and they asked the COP, C-O-P, constable on patrol, for their probable cause. First, they will hesitate. Let's face it, they are not used to you asking them that. They were in a shore town during off-season. The cop said there were break-ins in people's houses to steal their televisions, and that they were being done by boat. Well, the person was just entering the foot of the bridge to go out of the town, nowhere near the shoreline where boats were docked. They were not in a boat or near a boat or going in the direction of a boat. In fact, they were going in the opposite direction of a boat. Therefore, an opposite direction to what was supposedly being investigated. Clearly, they were not the object or subject of that investigation. They were able to part their way with no occurrence. Illegal search. If they ask, do you mind if they search the car? Say no. You cannot search without a search warrant. If you pay close attention, they will always ask you if you mind. They know they have to get your consent. Usually people agree to the search out of fear or from the fact that they see them as the authority. However, they are with bounds, limits, and protocols because they are for the purpose of upholding the law, keeping the peace, protecting the citizens, and preserving the rights of the people. See Peace on Earth, Law Enforcers Ethics on the opening reading page of this site. Case law. Owen versus Independence. Officers of the court have no immunity when violating a constitutional right from liability, for they are deemed to know the law. Very important, partner interjection, very important. Get that and write that down. Owen versus Independence, 100 S.C.T. 1398 comma 445 U.S. 622. And again, it states, officers of the court have no immunity when violating a constitutional right from liability, for they are deemed to know the law. Pardon the interjection. So these policy enforcers are deemed to know that it's your right to travel unencumbered. Unencumbered. They should know this. They are deemed to know the law, and that's the law. That's the constitutional law. Supreme Court case ruled in favor of the Constitution, right? Use that case. Start suing them. Hoffsomer, Hoffssomer versus Hayes, 92, Oklahoma. The courts are not bound by an officer's interpretation of the law under which he presumes to act. Pardon the interjection. So if these policy enforcers are pulling you over, Moors, right, and he's saying that you're driving and give you tickets and say that you're driving, you can sue him because you're telling him you're traveling and you're a traveler and you have the right to travel unencumbered. The Constitution secures that right, not give it to you, secures it. And we continue. You will find, if you speak in an intelligent tone and ask intelligent questions according to law, you will get a different response. You must remain within the bounds of law at all times. Some patrolmen are actually private security guards for the corporations, not to be confused with police officers, because a police officer is an elected official. Pardon the interjection. A sheriff is a police officer. A sheriff is elected, so he's a police officer. He's an official. Pardon the interjection, and we continue. They are policy enforcers for private corporations, making them privately armed security guards. Policy enforcers for the corporation. They're security guards. It is not the duty of the police to protect you. Their job is to protect the corporation and arrest code breakers. Sapp versus Tallahassee. Reif versus City of Philadelphia. REIFF versus City of Philadelphia. Lynch versus North Carolina Department of Justice. Thus, they are feigning as law enforcers and will actually say to you, I will tell you why I am stopping you after you show me identification, driver's license, registration, etc. That is not the lawful order. Besides, a driver's license is not identification, and you have the right or liberty to travel upon the roads without it. It is an instrument for use in commercial activity. Murdoch versus Penn, 319. No state shall convert a liberty into a privilege, license it, and attach a fee to it. Shuttleworth versus Birmingham. If the state converts a liberty into a privilege, the citizen can engage in that right with impunity. They can only monitor those who are participating in commerce. This means they have to prove first that you are doing commerce. Going to the corner store, the market, or to visit a friend is not commerce. The license instrument comes under administrative law and must be identified as to who it is for. The Division of Motor Vehicles is an agency that works on policies and statutes that are not law, although they tell you it is law. A judge ceases to sit as a judicial officer because the governing principle of administrative law provides that courts are prohibited from substituting their evidence, testimony, record, arguments, and rationale for that of the agency. Additionally, courts are prohibited from substituting their judgment for that of the agency. Courts in administrative issues are prohibited from even listening to or hearing arguments, presentations, or rationale. ASIS versus US. You can also say to them, with all due respect, you are breaking the law, and I do not wish to participate in breaking the law with you. You may not be able to get the effect on the spot from a policy enforcer, police. They would probably find a pseudo reason to give you a ticket, summons, or suit. It is more and more clear that they are the one who is breaking the law. This is why it is imperative that you start suing or countersuing them. The ticket is a suit, so counter it. Usually they will give you a court date for the ticket or summons or suit. Now there are a few ways to do it. Send the ticket back within 3 days to the court via certified mail and mark in large letters, no plea, on the back, which means you are not pleading to their jurisdiction. You may get a notice that is being referred to Superior Court, which says your not guilty plea has been entered. You send them a writ of error to correct them, saying you put in a not guilty plea when you did not. This is coming from possibly an intern, centralized infraction bureau, or something like that, different in different states. When Superior Court receives it, they will send you a notification of the court date, which will also reflect that you made a not guilty plea. So you send them a writ of error as well to correct that you have not made a plea. Also send a writ of discovery to the Superior Court, asking for the delegation of authority, requesting any information you need to prepare a proper defense for yourself, including names and bond numbers of officers of the court, etc. This is being done because some of the superior courts are in fact not a superior court. They are administrative courts who have changed their name to Superior Court. Trickery. You ask for the delegation of authority to determine what they can and cannot do and exactly what their jurisdiction entails. You will find that it does not include traffic court, as there is no such thing as traffic court. If any court proceeds with traffic court, they have no delegation of authority, as it does not exist, and they are violating their oath of office, warring against the people, and committing treason. And that's going to take us to the top of the hour. And I implore you, my people, to go and check out this information and start suing these people. Start suing these imposters. They're on your land, raping your resources and raping you at the same time, raping us. We're a nation. We're a Moorish American nation. This is our land, y'all. Start claiming your nationality. Start claiming your title. Start claiming your land back. So many people say that we don't have unity. We have unity. We have unity. You don't check my brother Cujo Adwell out. You don't check my brother Satin Rabe out. Satin Rabe. You don't check my brother Rami Salam El. You don't check my brother Ramael El Bay. You know what I'm saying? You don't check my brother Abdullah. You don't check my brother Nature. You don't check, you know what I'm saying, the sisters. You know what I'm saying, the mothers. We have unity, y'all. We have unity. We have unity. Study, study, study. And when you have studied, and want to know what's to study next, the Prophet said, study yourself. I love y'all. I love you, family. And love is the first principle. So don't get caught up by this, being black and all this crap. You Moors. You Moorish American nationals. And what did I say? Don't believe me. Go. Check it out for yourself. And you'll be amazed at the jewels you'll find on your treasure hunt. This has been Partner Interjection with your host, Supreme L. It's always love, always energetic, and always peaceful and blissful to have you join me. Until next time, Islam, love, and peace forevermores.
Got you like stats on a graph, rights in a negative status, they just laugh. Prophets come to save nations from the wrath. More science, it's synonymous with math. Negative status, got you like stats on a graph, rights in a negative status, makes them laugh. If you hear, get your hand on my pocket in my lecture. No El Hajj Malik repeat, I betcha. Sergeant of the Moorish unified front toward Islam. Twist your arm like a blunt, won't spark it, but like Tiger Claw, debark it. Before anyone saw, not Cain but I'm raw. Long live Iron Sheik slaying the weak. Rhyming about rims spinning on their Jeep, making a mockery of the art and hard work put in by the veterans. Now they gotta work. Boo in a coma, rap heart attack. I'm sure a premier beat would bring the guard back. Can't give it too much time in my rhyme, but I know mostly in rhyme they doing the crime. Build a ball court, a whack remedy. Living right around me is my worst enemy. I see that they look just like me. Award for hip hop when you're not an MC. Mastering the ceremony, very lonely. Rapping genuine, riding the beat ponies. Scrap the DJ and dancer like a phony. If you see me in some skinny jeans, you know they clone me. If you hear me rapping about crap, I'm Coke B. So do me like Big L or J and smoke me. I see some of my worst enemies live right around me and look just like me. I see some of my worst enemies live right around me and look just like me. I see some of my worst